Hey, how's it going, horror fans? It's Dan from Daniel Hegarty's Movie Reviews, and Halloween may be past us, but it's not over yet. We still have the weekend to go through, so I thought I'd suggest a really good recent horror film that I've watched, Rob Zombie's Three from Hell.
Three from Hell is the third installment of Rob Zombie's universe, and for some reason I don't think it will be the last. Using mainly news reports and tabloid shots to tell us the story of the events that took place after the famous shootout at the end of Devil's Rejects, then bring you 10 years further where Baby Firefly and Otis are still in jail, and unfortunately Captain Spaulding has passed away, but not before he's had one last rant about the man. Sadly though, this was the great horror icon Sid Haig's last performance also, and what a performance it was. First we are following Otis's pursuit to spring Baby Firefly from prison after his own breakout. Then, equipped with new member Foxy, played by Richard Brake, the plan is to get themselves across the Mexican border. But it's not all drinking, party and knife-throwing competitions. When Aquarius, Emilio Rivera's character, discovers their arrival and decides it's time to take revenge for the death of his father in prison, played by Danny Trejo.
Now, I appreciate Zombie might not be to everyone's liking, but given that I'm a fan of the exploitation style, old, gritty kind of films, I quite like him. I believe he is more or less just a horror fan that's been thrown into this. As you may know, he wrote House of 1000 Corpses, then went on to Devil's Rejects. You will have seen, I'm sure, the end sequence with the Leonard Skinner's Freebird playing with the shootout at the end. I'll put a quick clip up so you can just refresh your memory. But basically, he is, a horror fan. And I don't think he comes from a massive film background. I don't know a lot about him, but given the stories around House of 1000 Corpses, I vaguely remember reading somewhere that the House of 1000 Corpses was actually some sort of adventure park of some sort that was then turned into a film. But you gotta give it to the guy. He has got an eye for horror. I mean, the set on House of 1000 Corpses is really good, really believable. Looks like a American style horror Disneyland, if you like. And yeah, okay, so there is some flaws in the right, maybe some of the sort of conversation pieces in the some of the dialogue in the films, not great, but it does have a fan following. House of 1000 Corpses is the first film, Devil's Rejects is the second film, and now Three from Hell is a direct continuation from the Devil's Rejects. So I think it gets a lot of hate because not many people seem to go for the Halloween films. Those were his big sort of masterpieces. He got to take over the Halloween franchise and he got to remake the first and second film and included a sort of prequel as part of the first film. And I thought they were really good. I have to say, I'm not sure I would have been happy continuing going, like building on that story, but just as a remake of the first two films, I thought they were really good. They were violent, which back in the day, Halloween was a violent film, it was horrible. And he needed to up the game to make it violent for the modern viewer. So there were some brutal parts of it which were difficult to watch. But it's a horror film, and he told the story, I thought, really well. It was a Hollywood-style remake, so there was much more production value than his previous films. And I guess people didn't go for it. But the Devil's Rejects and House of 1000 Corpses were much more sort of grindhouse. They had a much grainier feel to them. They were much more in your face. And he has gone back to that style of shooting for Three from Hell. So you can't blame him. He's made a film that is very similar to the original ones and wanted to continue that story. So where we thought the Three from Hell, Sheri Moon Zombie, Sid Haig and Bill Moseley, we thought they were dead at the end of the second film, Devil's Rejects, because they just get shot to pieces. It doesn't show you them dying necessarily, so he has used that and resurrected the Three from Hell. Unfortunately, I think Sid Haig was not well enough to actually go through with making the full film, so they wrote him out and he does die at the beginning. So it wouldn't be a 3 from Hell movie, or really a continuation if there wasn't 3 of them. So instead of having Sid Haig, he drafts in Richard Brake, who is from 31 and a few other of Rob Zombie's films. So he is a very good actor. He is a good line of new blood for this film, and I think rather than just having the 3 original cast members, actually this unfortunate circumstance has turned it into quite a fresh new feel. There's a new character to follow with Sheri Zombie and Bill Moseley's character. There's 2 parts to this story. So there's the part where Otis breaks out and Baby Firefly's still in the prison, but they've been there for 10 years. So he finally gets out and he meets up with Foxy, his cousin, I believe. So they need to think about how they can get Baby Firefly out, Sheri Zombie. So the second part is them all out of prison. And the first part is them getting out of prison. But all the way through, there is bloodshed, sinister style of cat and mouse torture. This storyline itself maybe isn't as good as the first 2 films, but ultimately it's a continuation, so it doesn't need the storyline so much. You've had the background already, and it's following them now as they have got out of prison and what they do next, what their plan is. And they decide to go to Mexico. So I've only really given you up until maybe the halfway point there, so there's no real spoilers in that. That there would be no story, there would be no need for a film if they didn't get out of prison and do something. So all I've told you is that. There is appearances from Danny Trejo in the first part of the film, which then leads you to the character Emilio Rivera in the second part of the film. So he's from Sons of Anarchy, and then he is one of the main guys in The Mayans, which is the recent sort of spin-off TV show about the Mexican Sons of Anarchy called The Mayans. So he is a big part in the second half, and I'm not going to go into why, but actually, again, I quite like this guy and everything I see. He is the same character every time, but he plays it really well. He is quite in an intimidating character, so really good force for the 3 from Hell to go up against or to work with. I'll let you find that out for yourself. But the main things I want to point out about this film is Rob Zombie has gone back to the style of shooting as he did in the original 2. It is very close shot. You see there's no cutaway. You see a lot of blood, a lot of violence. There is the sort of iconic slow motion style lead to an ending, not the end of the film, but an ending. And there is a crass amount of nudity in it. Some people will like that, some people won't. I'm not going to give you my view on that. But it does have all the remnants of the things that we liked about the first 2 films. So if you're a fan of not necessarily Rob Zombie, but the first 2 movies, don't have to like his Halloween films if you don't want to. But I would say he has kept his style in this film that he had in the first 2. And you also see a bit of the style that is used in 31, Lords of Salem, those sort of things. Yes, I have watched all of these films. Maybe I'll give you my view on those later. But I definitely enjoyed it. It's not gonna be an iconic film because I think Devil Rejects is by far the most popular out of the 3. That's still going to be number 1 out of this sort of universe, if you like. But it was a welcome continuation of the storyline. So get your asses in the seats, put it on the stream and watch it. One thing that's worth pointing out is there are 2 versions of this film. One that kind of shows you everything, and the second one, which I've seen on certain streams that have taken out one of the main parts of this film. Now, it is a horrible part of the film. It is hard to watch, it is brutal and violent, but there is a reason that Zombies included it. It has the sort of, he wanted to include a slow motion spectacle of a certain killing that happens. Now, it's parallel to Devil's Rejects, where there's a slow motion shootout at the end, and a very long drawn out view of it. And they do that in this film, not quite as long, but because it shows a lot of nudity, and the sort of style of it is very up close where someone gets murdered, I think some people have decided to censor it. Now, I think it's around the 43-minute point of the film. I would suggest looking at your stream, skipping to that point. If you see a very long drawn out murder scene of a blonde lady, then you're okay. If you don't see it and it seems to cut from where the prison warden with the weird mustache is shouting to someone being violently stabbed, they've cut out maybe a 5-minute chunk of that film that I think is important to horror fans, and certainly to Devil's Rejects and House of a Thousand Corpses fans. So it may be worth watching that. You might be disappointed that you did if you're a little bit faint of heart, but I think it's necessary as far as seeing what Rob Zombie wanted you to see. So bear that in mind. Maybe it's worth finding the right stream. Boys and girls, thanks for watching. If you do like my content, don't forget to subscribe and keep loving horror films.